All right, so now you know the major pentatonic scales and the minor pentatonic scales and have opened up whole new worlds of how you can solo over the chord progressions that you love. I want to start giving you a few extra tools to have in your shed when you are playing a song that feels like you could just go somewhere else, or you could add some other flavors in. So the first thing I want to talk about so you can keep in your tool shed is playing minor pentatonics over major songs. It definitely has a blues feel to it. It has a blues flair to it, but it adds a really cool color when you're playing certain major progressions. Always, I prefer to play minor pentatonics as like short little blips, you know? So I'll generally stay in a major pentatonic scale, and then I can like dip into a minor pentatonic for a few notes and then fall back on my major pentatonic. It's not necessarily something that you want to stay in a minor pentatonic for a long time. Even a full bar sometimes feels too much. It's honestly like passing little licks here and there that can really spice up your solo and can give you some nice flares. But it usually is over a major chord progression that you can throw in some minor pentatonic licks. So to even understand how these things go together, let's take a key like C sharp. Okay, so C sharp, our root note will be right here on the 9th fret. So our major pentatonic would start with pattern 2 on the 9th fret, right? So pattern 2 would sound like this. Now our minor pentatonic in C sharp would start with pattern 1 with our root note being on the 6th string. So pattern 1 would sound like this. So if you can envision, and you can look at the chart diagram to see how these overlap, but if you can envision pattern 2 overlapping on top of pattern 1, then you can start to pull notes and licks from pattern 1 and play them in a major pentatonic song. So again, let's envision this pattern of pattern 2 over pattern 1. And if you can sort of envision both of those patterns at the same time, you can start to see how you can play licks in pattern 1 and then hop back into pattern 2. So if your song was mainly in this major vibe, so it's almost like a pendulum swinging in either direction. You don't want to stay in a minor pentatonic for too long, but going into it for a few notes and then coming back and falling into a major scale feels so good. It's almost like this tension and release. You create tension playing a minor pentatonic bluesy scale over a major progression, and then you hop back into the major pentatonic and it feels like this beautiful release. I feel a lot of times when I'm soloing, it's about creating a story, you know, it's about bringing your listener through this journey and saying things. I always envision my solos being like additional lyrics to a song and actually saying something through what I'm playing. And because of that, it's really helpful to be able to create these moments of tension and release, to be able to create these periods of a solo where they feel like, oh, something's building, and then it gets to release into this beautiful major, you know, C sharp world that you're just swimming in a sea of beautiful major C sharp things. So to also explain this, obviously your minor pentatonics and your major pentatonics will overlap around the whole neck. But I usually look at it from pivots of your 2 root notes, your root note on your 6th string and your root note on your 5th string. I think it's helpful to have 2 centers, again, referring to the 2 chord boxes, to have 2 epicenters of where you can flip-flop in between the universes of major and minor. So if our first epicenter is here with a root note on the 6th string, this was pattern 2 and pattern 1, so pattern 2 being, pattern 1 being, if we move to our root note being on the 5th string, which in C sharp we're on our 4th fret right here, the major pentatonic scale in C sharp would be our pattern 5, so it would be, then the minor pentatonic overlapping on this epicenter of the neck would be pattern 4. So if you can envision your pattern 5 and your pattern 4 overlapping each other at the same time, you can see how you could play in the major pentatonic and the minor pentatonic in the same song. And you can get some really creative lick ideas. It kind of opens up your brain to a whole new universe, playing in C sharp major, and then dipping into C sharp minor, and then going back to C sharp major. So you always want to sprinkle in a minor pentatonic over a major chord progression. Now, a lot of this is feel, but I will say some general rules that you can use is your 1 chord of your major progression will be a beautiful place that you can sprinkle in some minor pentatonic notes. Your 6th chord is also a beautiful place that you can sprinkle in some minor pentatonic notes. Any transitional chord, like your 5 chord, is also a beautiful place for you to play some minor pentatonic licks, because oftentimes a chord progression can resolve from 5 to 1. And so a 5 chord is an amazing place to play some minor pentatonic things to then resolve to your major pentatonic. Remember, you don't want to stay in a minor pentatonic place for too long. It's just to sort of sprinkle in the vibe, sprinkle in the feel. Any transition chord going to a 1, so let's say a flat 7 into a 1, is also a really great place, again, to create that tension and release. Anytime you're going to land on, a 1, or anytime you're landing on a 4 at the beginning of a chorus maybe, before approaching those landing positions, it's a wonderful time to sprinkle in some minor pentatonics. I'll say be wary of, like, in your relative major key, using the 2 chord, over the 2, the 3, anything that is more of like a majorly passing tone. The minor pentatonic may work, but it may not feel as good. So this is going to be something that you're going to get a good grip of just by practicing and playing over a lot of songs and a lot of different progressions. And you'll start to feel when it could be a really good time to go from a major world to a minor world. And yeah, I think all of you may be familiar with the that is basically all of those licks are moving from a minor pentatonic to a major pentatonic, and you're just sort of overlapping those 2 scales. This is minor, minor, major, major. So this is a lot of fun. I love overlapping major and minor pentatonic scales. And let's play a little jam to this.